sisters, I hope you are well today. So in this video I'm going to be talking about cortisol, how to know that you have high cortisol levels as a woman with PCOS, and how you can get tested for PCOS. So symptoms of high cortisol are classic and they are pretty easy to identify in my opinion, but I highly recommend getting tested if you have access to testing. I highly recommend getting tested to see where your cortisol levels lie. So on this topic of stress and PCOS, I hope that you've read the first part of our series and found it helpful, found it interesting, and I hope that it basically cleared everything for you. So as part of this topic, I also wanted to talk in detail or kind of, I guess, summarize what it means to have high cortisol levels. So first of all, as a woman with PCOS, high cortisol levels will mean that you will have fatigue. So fatigue of a different kind. So what does that mean? That means that you will be tired, you'll be super tired, and when you go down to sleep at night, you're kind of awake, you're wide awake. You want to go to sleep, you feel like your body is like a ton of bricks, you just want to go to sleep, but your mind is racing, your heart's racing, you're thinking, and you're sweating, and you cannot go to sleep. That's called being tired but wired, and that is a classic symptom of high cortisol. So remember when you had an extremely important exam or an extremely important event such as a job interview, and you couldn't sleep all night and you woke up but you were still really pumped until after you had your exam, after you had that important event, then you kind of felt like, oh, you just wanted to slump into bed and just go to sleep because suddenly that wave of exhaustion just hits you. But in the case of PCOS, that cortisol stays high for long periods of time. So that means that tired but wired state can go on for weeks and weeks, and you start to lose your period, you have irregular periods, you may have your periods and you start to lose ovulation, you're already having trouble sleeping, and you start to get very anxious, very depressed. Another symptom that I wanted to talk about of having high cortisol, and this one is very unique and this one is very important, so I want you to listen up, and that is symptoms of high androgen levels. So women with PCOS who have adrenal disorder or adrenal hormonal dysregulation will have symptoms of high androgen levels. So for example, you have your hair loss, acne, and your excessive hair. Now, you're probably thinking, how do I know that's due to adrenal fatigue and not due to insulin resistance? So if you had a read of my first part of the stress module, then you'll know that your androgens, high male androgens, can come from two sources in PCOS. One from your ovaries, and secondly from your adrenal glands. So what happens when you have your androgens coming from adrenal dysfunction is that you may be losing weight, even you may be really thin, or you may be eating well, exercising, doing everything, yet still not able to reverse symptoms such as hair loss, such as acne, excessive hair. And I have that happening so many times in my private practice. I've seen so many sisters in private practice who have the same issue. They tell me, I've lost a ton of weight, I've done everything, I'm eating well, I'm exercising, yet I can't seem to reverse this hair loss, I can't seem to reverse this excessive hair growth, and that's because you're not addressing adrenal dysfunction. And if you have that happening to you, then that is a classic sign of adrenal dysfunction or high cortisol levels. So how do you diagnose high cortisol levels? Number one, what I've just talked about with you, write down your symptoms, think about what symptoms you have, and then if you have access to lab testing, then I urge you to go ahead and get a cortisol saliva test, and you can also get a blood test to check for your DHEA levels, which may be elevated if you have adrenal dysfunction. So I hope you found this video helpful, and again, if you have any questions, you can write them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.